Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. HDM here again with some PTS patch notes for the week 3 patch. I know expectations have been pretty high for this week because we had such an awful PTS patch in the first week. I'm talking about 60% damage reduction in dot damage, 100% cost increase on some skills, 5k resources for area effect damage over time skills. I mean, wow. It's been a crazy patch so far. All right, so we're going to focus mainly on the combat and class sections, starting here in the general combat. So there's been some adjustments made to shadow image, or they will be adjusting this in the future, looking for ways to ensure the actual range is reflected on the tooltip and the bar, so we can properly increase the teleport range without leading back into situations where you thought you could activate the ability but couldn't. So they did reduce the range, I think, to 22 meters on the teleport last time. Honestly, it sounds like they're admitting that they did that because the skill doesn't work. So apparently they will try to fix this so that the range can go back up. I think that will be much better because the shorter the range, the less useful the skill is. So then they say in a future patch during this PTS cycle, so not this week, maybe next week, they will be increasing the total damage of any dot abilities adjusted in 5.2.0 by approximately 20% to reduce situations where many of the abilities felt difficult to maintain outside of a nanosecond perfect rotation. Well, I don't think that's true. I think they were just not worth maintaining. I don't think they did enough damage to be useful at all. So this means there will be an overall reduction in dot damage by 33% compared to what's currently on the live servers. Okay, not bad. I think this is more what players had in mind when we talked about we need to reduce dot damage. It's not 60%, let's not make them useless, but I think this 33% reduction is going to be just about where they need to be, where you can still use it as part of a build, but it's not going to absolutely be your highest DPS, or it's not going to be crazy in PvP. Overall, I think this is a good change. I wish they would have started this way. I think they would have got a lot better feedback on their patch week 1. Man, you guys got to learn to start small and then slowly increase. Incremental increases. Yeah, but I think we're back where we need to be. So good job, thumbs up. Many passives and item sets related to dots will receive some adjustments. Okay. Updates coming to dive. Range requirement will be reduced to improve the off-balance proc. That's fine. And then major vulnerability also getting some future adjustments to make it a powerful tool, but not to the point where you can stack necromancers. Unfortunately, they did nerf it across the board, so this has a very big impact now on necromancer PvP builds. A lot of times you need that extra burst from the major vulnerability to actually do anything as a necro in PvP. So I hope that they'll look at it from both sides. This is honestly the challenge of balancing PvE and PvP together at the same time. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but we'll see. I'm going to jump down to combat and abilities now. Just in general, they fixed an issue with sprinting, removing invisibility. Okay, they fixed an issue with stamina. Desync on CC, that's fine. Fix an issue where you could be charged for sprinting while swimming. Okay. Cool bug. Fix an issue with Bastion. Okay. So I want to get to the class changes. This is what I'm really interested in seeing. So starting with Dragon Knight class changes. Ardent Flame skill line and Combustion. This passive no longer has a cooldown in order to help the Dragon Knight sustain, since it doesn't have a class-based resource ability like Dark Exchange, Siphoning Strikes. Okay. Not bad. So I believe it was 2 seconds before, and now it basically has a 0-second cooldown. So this proc's based on the poison status effect or the burning status effect. How often can you actually proc that? Like, I'm not really sure. Let me know in the comments if you know more about this. I know, for example, Lethal Arrow, I think, procs the poison status effect. So if you spam Lethal Arrow, then I guess you can get some sustain back, but I'm not sure how much more useful that will be. I don't know. Fiery Breath, Engulfing Flames. This ability's bonus flame damage modifier now uses both spell damage and max magicka instead of only spell damage, so more builds can use it. Okay, I think that's a pretty good change. So you don't have to stack spell damage necessarily. Some builds stack max magicka, so that's good. Can't use it over your tank though. Okay, Searing Heat. So this is another passive, I believe. Fixed an issue where rank 2 of this ability was applying its damage done to all Ardent Flame abilities rather than only the listed ones. Wow, I didn't know that. That was a pretty sweet bug while it lasted. Increase the damage bonus to 33% from 10% to help distinguish the Dragon Knight's damage overtime abilities as superior to others. Wow, you guys. This is a good change, actually. So they're actually saying Dragon Knights are like the dot class. They are superior to others when it comes to dots, and they're actually making that true with the passive here. Now, 30% increased dot damage. Now, this isn't all dots, just keep that in mind. This only applies to the breath ability, the claw, so like Venom Claw, and the standard ultimate, I believe. So only those 3 abilities. But still, that's cool. I like that they are giving the class a focus. And so I think this is a good approach to take. I wonder if they're going to keep doing this, kind of reevaluating the class passives and making them more unique. Because I think that would definitely be a good approach to do now that they are just making all the skills kind of like the same damage, the same cost, whatever. You can introduce some of that uniqueness back in the passives. I mean, this is a long process if they do it this way. You know, you could argue, why didn't you just leave the damage on those dots the same and change the other ones? Also, you know, you don't get the true power of the class until you unlock the passives, which I guess is okay, but I mean, if you're leveling and you're, you know, new to the game, you won't really know what your class is all about until you hit level 50 and you have all your passives. So there's kind of pluses and minuses, I think, to this approach, but it'll be interesting to see if they do this with other classes. So for example, like a Nightblade, they could give them a passive that increases single target damage, something like that, to make it more of a burst class again. I think that would be cool. That's looking good. Until we get to Stonefist. I forgot about this one. So they adjusted this ability based on PTS feedback. Wow. As well in preparation for a future update. This is part 1. Part 1, you guys, there's more to come. So they reduced the max stacks required to stun down to 3 from 5. Okay, that's good. Actually, I suggested that earlier in a previous video. 5 is just ridiculous. How are you going to do 5 casts to get 1 stun? 3 is more manageable for sure. Increase the damage per taken. Increase the damage per stack of stagger to 45 up from 25. Please note, while the number looks small, it works with everything. Yes, everything, like all damage. Okay, yeah, that could be pretty strong. I think we just haven't used it enough to really understand the point of the skill here. They reduced the stacks to 5 seconds in duration, down from 10, blah, blah, blah. Okay. In response to many points of feedback we've seen centered on this ability, we're going to spend more time improving the gameplay and visual storytelling this ability provides. So I'm guessing that means like a new animation, perhaps? Man, I hope it looks good. Like, this is one of the real downsides with the ability. Is it just looks bad. It looks dumb. Like, it's not even a large rock. It's like a pebble. But yeah, so it looks like they're going all in on this. And, you know, it's appreciated, I think, that StamDKs will have a spammable ability, but man, they really missed an opportunity on the whip skill. Like 90% of the comments you would see regarding this topic is just give them a stamina morph of whip, and that's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to redo an entire other skill. Just give them a cool stam whip. That's more of the class identity. That's the class feel of the Dragon Knight. Yeah, I guess we'll see. This is only part 1 of this. Maybe they'll make it super cool. Who knows? Let's jump down to Sorcerer. So Daedric Summoning Bound Armor. Bound Armament. So this is the stam morph. This morph now has new sound effects. So that's the Summon Dagger skill. Has new sound effects. Okay. Templar and Backlash. Last patch Backlash was updated so that it could crit. Now that's going to be huge damage, especially in PvP, so let's see what they did here. This ability and its morphs will now only store damage dealt from the caster rather than anyone who hits the target. Wow, big change for Backlash. This was done to offset some of the power in group situations where low damage builds could apply the ability and generate free real estate from their allies' contribution. Okay, so basically low damage builds could get big burst damage with this skill based on their group. So they've changed it now. Now it's just based on your own damage. It's an interesting change. Maybe that's why they made it crit in the first place, is that they were thinking this would be the approach. I guess it's okay. I mean, you have to build for damage if you want damaging skills. That does make sense. Okay. Warden. Okay, Sleet Storm. Last patch, just to remind you, they increased the duration, I believe, to 12 seconds, up from 8. Still has that major protection, and it now has a bigger snare, but it doesn't stun anymore. So it has something like a 70% snare, but no stun. Permafrost morph. They reduced the damage done by this morph by 50%. So it's supposed to be a utility and defensive morph. I mean, I always saw this as an offensive morph. I mean, it's just weird. Like, why do you define what the skill is after 2 years? Okay, whatever. Northern Storm morph. This is the Max Magicka morph. The Max Magicka granted from this morph is no longer passive. Instead, it's granted for 30 seconds after activating the ultimate. Increase the amount of Max Magicka to 9% and now ranks up 2% per rank, up to 15%. It's just weird. It's weird to me. So 30 seconds you get 15% Magicka. That's a lot of Magicka. But it's only for 30 seconds. It'll be there when you need it, and it's more. It's almost double the amount of Magicka for 30 seconds. I don't know. It's a weird change. You know what? There's like one developer comment in this whole thing. Like, this is a really big change. This whole thing with Sleet Storm. This one's defensive now. This one is timed bonus. Like, it'd be nice to get some developer feedback on this. Some developer comments to explain what the thinking is here. I just don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. It's different. I don't know if it's better or worse necessarily. All right, let's run through the item changes really quick because there's just one here. It's Onslaught. Did this get nerfed finally? It now grants 85% resistances at rank 1, so it just scales up. That's no different. Okay, but they did decrease the duration to 5 seconds. Oh, here's a comment. Look at that. These changes were done to ensure you still gain powerful effect, but the lower duration requires you to capitalize on the time period. Yep. Okay. I agree with that. I think, this is like the second or third time they've reduced the duration because it is powerful. It is definitely a powerful buff to have for so long. 5 seconds might be a little short now, but we'll see. So let's go over the item set updates really quick. There's just a few. Bug fix on Coward's Gear, Crushing Wall bug fix, new Acolyte bug fix there with the cost display. Central Defender, this is one of the new sets. It is a resource sustain set, and it looks like they buffed it. So they increased the Magicka and Stamina. Okay, interesting choice there. Up from 535. So it just makes it more useful, I think, for using that set. Steadfast Hero, this did get a nerf though. Big time nerf if you use this set. The cooldown is now 20 seconds up from 10 to reduce some of the staggering power of major protection. So that's a long cooldown. I mean, that's almost useless. That's such a long cooldown on a set. That's basically what they did with the Pirate Skeleton Monster Helm, and this is the wrong approach. In my opinion, major protection is probably the strongest buff in the game for PvP specifically. What they should have done is just reduce the buff. Instead of being 30% or whatever it is, make it 20%. Make it less powerful so that you don't have to nerf all these sets and make them useless. Nerfing sets instead of just changing the buff is the wrong approach in my opinion, but that's what they are continuing to do. So with that, that's going to wrap up the week 3 changes. It was a short list of changes, but I think overall we had some improvements. We don't have the dot changes yet, but they are promised to be coming soon. Hopefully we'll see those next week. And then we got some interesting changes for the Dragon Knight specifically with those dot buffs in the passive skill line. I think that's going to be really cool for Dragon Knights. It's nice to see the development team finally acknowledge that and say, yes, a class can be better at something, and we're going to reinforce it with their passive skill line. I hope that's what they continue to do with other classes, giving them unique class buffs through the passives, but we'll see. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Let me know what you think about the patch notes in the comments below. Don't forget to crush that like button, and I will see you around in the next video. Thanks.